Hi, hope you're doing all right. Well, here's here's today's bullet points. It's all about this horror show in every sense of the word I'm watching on Netflix at the moment called The Haunting of Bly Manor, purportedly set in an English manor house. I suppose about an hour's drive from London, because there are shots of somewhere that is roughly like London but doesn't seem to contain any scenes that I recognise as a Londoner. And I'm not going to go into the plot, which doesn't exist, and I'm not going to go into the casting, except I recognise almost all of the actors apart from the children, who I'm not sure if there's some sort of welfare for child actors who actually have to utter such drivel. And is their mental health being looked after is really the issue. And it seems to me that it's a sort of Brit fantasy. It's an American creator's idea of us. And there are so many mistakes in it that I'm sitting there watching it, kind of all tensed up. God, when are they going to make the next embarrassing revelation that they know absolutely nothing about English culture? And the first thing I notice, and I don't possess a manor house, but there are many in the ownership of organisations like the National Trust. So you get to know the sort of layout of a genuine English manor house. And a lot of the scenes take place in the kitchen, and next door to the kitchen is the dining room. No, that doesn't happen. In a genuine English manor house, the kitchen is an inconveniently huge distance from the dining room. They are part of what was called the domestic offices, and the owners of such houses wanted the fewest possible reminders of any actual labour going on under their roof. So they put the kitchen way too far away from the dining room, which does mean that typically the food arrives in a sort of semi-congealed state, but there we are. So much our appearance is important. Manor houses, of course, were thronging with domestic staff, and there was one scene where, was it the little boy threw something down a laundry chute? Impossible. No, you don't have laundry chutes in English manor houses. The poor bloody staff would actually have to carry the things down endless flights of stairs to wherever they did the washing, and often the washing was outsourced to another facility nearby. Then, having lived in both America and in England, and having gone to school in America, I noticed odd little things that were sort of direct translations from American culture to English culture. So there was a scene in Miles's classroom, I think, the boys' classroom, and there was a Union flag in the classroom. So this is a very interesting example, because having been to school in America, I know that in every American classroom there is an American flag, because you had to do the morning Pledge of Allegiance. A bit of a sidebar here. I know the Pledge of Allegiance because I said it every school morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, like any repetitive thing, you said this every morning, but you weren't thinking about it at all. You were thinking about something entirely different. But we did have to think about it because when we first arrived in America, the phrase under God was not in the Pledge of Allegiance. So it's one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we had to make this change, and it took quite a while to get used to. Then there are other things. Do the math. That's one I noticed. Do the math. No English person says do the math. The British abbreviation for mathematics is maths, not math. So things like that. And then there's a scene in is it Henry, the older brother or younger brother or whatever he is, that has fathered Flora, it turns out. Don't worry if you haven't seen all the episodes, because it doesn't really matter. So I think he's a barrister or lawyer of some sort, and he's got this office which he lingers in all through the evening and has some heart-to-heart with his alter ego over a whiskey or two. And on the desk is a typewriter. A typewriter. Now, men in that sort of position, and women in that sort of position, in the days before the widespread use of PCs in offices, they didn't type. They had their secretary to type. They wouldn't even know how to type. And so it goes on. So I do sit there kind of shielding myself, not from the scary jumps and the sudden appearances of the ghosts, but for the next cultural mistake. And I had a look at the reviews. I think I've watched up to episode 6 or something. So I had a look at the reviews, and I like reading the 1-star reviews about almost anything, whether it's hotels or movies or series or whatever. And there's all this sort of complaining about the acting. Actually, the actors are generally good actors, but to me they seem to be uttering their lines with a deep sense of embarrassment. And then I'm reading all these negative reviews, and there's a sort of theme going through them all, which is, I kept hoping it would get better, because I loved The Haunting of Hill House, which, by the way, I haven't seen. I kept hoping it would get better, but I watched all 9 episodes. And can I have my 9 hours back, and all that sort of thing. And it prompts me to ask, why do we do this? Why do we persist in subjecting ourselves to this sort of agony? And on the reputation of the preceding series, or whatever it is, it really is a total mystery to me, I have to say. And with that note, I think I'm going to finish now, because I really should get on with episode 7 of the Haunting Bly Manor. Oh, 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 oh.